Obi-Wan Can Blow Me, Episode 4, the show written by people that never watched Star Wars that makes its audience wish they'd never seen it as well. At this point in the series, you can't convince me that this wasn't originally written as a carry-on movie. It's got two people hiding in a trench coat. How much closer to a parody do you want to get before we all just admit the truth? That Obi-Wan Kenobi is the Orville of Star Wars, except unlike the Orville, this is trash. Now we start with Obi-Wan, and Obi-Wan was dragged through fire at the end of the last episode, but because the fire has only damaged his arm and not his face, I can only assume that Obi-Wan's face is actually retarded. We get some images of an irrelevant side character ferrying him to a planet which doesn't matter. Oh, he's on a stretcher, he must be really hurt, even though there's no signs of damage on him. The screen's blurry. When it happens to me, it's a sign that my camera's messed up, but when it happens to them, it's artistic. Gets dumped into a Bacta tank, codename, we don't know how to solve this problem, so we're just gonna say it's magic. And as you can see, even though he was entirely engulfed in flame, the only burn damage is on his arm. You can even see his back. There is zero damage anywhere else but his arm. Look, I know this is Star Wars, but at the end of the day, makeup artists are incredibly expensive, and they seemingly pay by the centimeter. But trust me, this is deep, because his arm is burned. Do you know who else's arm is burned? Vader. Vader's got no arm. Obi-Wan's got an arm. I'm underwater, and I'm struggling because I'm imagining something which I can't possibly have known. Oh, I remember when I was burned and I was struggling too. Best if you don't know what happened there. So we go on for ages, desperately hoping that the audience thinks if we flash up enough scenes of various different fights and people in Bacta tanks, they'll think this is really deep and emotional, even though nothing is happening on the screen at all. The plot of this entire section is both Obi-Wan Kenobi and Darth Vader were once in a Bacta tank. Best part is when Obi-Wan wakes up and panics because he thinks he's drowning. But I think we can all agree by the end of the episode, it probably would have been better if he had. Instead, it's, oh, you're burned, your body, it needs time in this magical water tank. But don't worry, because Obi-Wan only has one thought on his mind. Where's Leia? Yeah, it doesn't give a toss about Luke. Because Luke is the savior of the universe, and Leia handed him a text message once. Look, I know they're pushing Reva, but that is one hell of a symbol of the patriarchy. Welcome to a base, home of the Empire, who all seem to have the same IQ as Obi-Wan Kenobi's face. A base which is absolutely impenetrable. That's their words. I know you can't see any defenses like shields or cannons, but I'm sure they exist, because this base is meant to be impenetrable. We cut immediately to the trope which is in series after series, from The Witcher to Halo, where anyone with ovaries who is captured, for some reason, must be incredibly strong and incredibly stupid. Despite the fact that they're captured and have zero power, still start demanding things. You can't keep me here! You can't do this to me! Dear, you're 10. You don't even have a say on when you go to bed, let alone what people which have guns are allowed to do. I am a princess! No, you're a miserable bint.
That's cute.
If you think that's cute, I can understand why you've got the charisma of paint drying. But this is an interesting tactic, because we got the two worst actors in the entire series put together in a blank room with nothing for entertainment. Let's see how this gets on. Yeah, about as good as you'd expect. But Reva tells her that Obi-Wan is dead, because at this point we're struggling to intimidate a 10-year-old child. This is my scared face.
Nobody's coming for you.
Now, that's what I was hoping for, but unfortunately we're not going to be that lucky. So the spy takes Obi-Wan to her leader, who says he shouldn't be here. They've been planning to bring him here from 2 planets ago. Seriously, if not here, where? The dude's like, too many people are looking for you. Get him on the first transport out of here. You run the Underground Railroad of Jedi. Everyone you protect has too many people looking for them. That's the point. But Obi-Wan tells him that he's got to help him save Leia, because Leia knows their location. Honestly, whose stupid idea was it to tell the 10-year-old child of the location of your top secret headquarters? At this point, basically, they get what they deserve. But you know that your rebel syndicate is led by absolute geniuses when they decide to say this.
Can't shut it down, everything runs out of here.
The first rule of freedom, decentralization, but apparently no. Everyone runs out of this tiny little cave. What about this cave could be so important, I hear you ask? Well, it seems to be these tape computers out of a James Bond film from the 1970s. Yes, that prop department spending literally pounds on this set, I see. But Obi-Wan just keeps whining about how important Leia is, because apparently Luke doesn't matter at all. The stupid thing is, the boss goes, I don't care about Leia, I'm not going to do anything for her. And Obi-Wan just tells him, you have no idea how important she is. So the boss goes, I know exactly how important she is, because my wife was exactly the same, and she too was killed by the Empire. so I'll help you. The guy had no intention to help until he was reminded about his wife, and then he decided to help. Honestly, at that point, how much can you say he cared about his wife? He literally forgot she existed. Oh, you're so stunning and brave.
It's a water moon.
He definitely doesn't say melon. So they go into a discussion about how Mustafar is a water planet, and this entire giant phallic Sith base is just built on the water for absolutely no reason whatsoever. Why did we build this base in water as opposed to land? Well, obviously, it's so it can't be attacked. This base is designed to be impenetrable. And I want you to remember that, because the show says it, and then just doesn't care. It must have cannons, shields, ships in orbit, except the show forgets that in about 30 seconds. And they've thought of an intelligent reason why this impenetrable base has absolutely no defenses.
I don't see any shields.
That's because no one would be stupid enough to attack.
Oh, that explains all of it then. The reason it has no defenses is because you'd have to be stupid to attack a base with no defenses. Obviously. And this base is so poorly defended that Obi-Wan just suggests they take a couple of speeders in, you know, the two of them. And the boss is like, you can't do that, you'll die. Obi-Wan, though, he's already been humiliated in the last episode. He doesn't care if it happens again. He's willing to do it anyway. But don't worry, because the scriptwriters just keep talking past each other. None of the lines have any relevance to the line that came before.
We need to find a way inside.
Well, we're not soldiers.
She's 10 years old.
We need to find a way inside. We're not soldiers. She's 10 years old. Honestly, what does one thing have to do to the other? If she was 12, would they suddenly be soldiers? Nobody knows. This is just a marvelous expanding spiral of possibilities where anything is possible. The world changes just based on her age. What happens when she's 35? Is Obi-Wan a clown? Anything is possible at this point. But Obi-Wan has finally found some testicular fortitude. I don't care if you're not going, I'm gonna go in anyway. You can't go on your own, you can barely stand. And then we get the final volunteer. Captain Fake Officer decides she's going to go as well, because the only thing that's better than a guy who literally can't stand is somebody else going along for the ride. She says she has officer clearance and can get him inside, which is all extremely coincidental, especially considering she shot 3 stormtroopers in the face in the last episode. For this plan to succeed, the Empire would need to be actually mentally deficient. But luckily, for Obi-Wan's case, they are. So off they travel to the giant triangular representation of the patriarchy. Obi-Wan is practicing dragging this tiny thing across the floor with the Force, and he really struggles. And it makes sense, because this is like 2 hours from the end of the last episode where he fought Vader and got absolutely annihilated. So there's no way he could possibly have learned the Force in this time. This is accurate. So it'd be really weird if later in the episode he just became a master of the Force again. Wouldn't it? But don't worry, because the writers have a handy excuse. It's not just your body that needs to heal, Ben. It's also your mind. Yes, the Force relies on your feelings. Because every single modern show has to be about a poor guy's little fifis. Yes, stoicism makes you weak. It's the submission to your feelings that makes you so strong. So Leia's still being interrogated and she's in handcuffs, despite the fact that no one could find handcuffs small enough, and so she could easily just pull her hand out of the loop. Now in this scene, it is a stormtrooper that carries the acting, largely because he's the only one that doesn't talk. But Reva's really concerned about the underground railroad of Force users, because apparently she's forgotten that Obi-Wan Kenobi is the only one that matters. I use that line deliberately because it's literally said later on in the episode, but it's something that Reva can't even remember for this scene. The only reason they were ever interested in Leia is because of Obi-Wan Kenobi, but now, for some reason, we're really interested in what the little 10-year-old spoiled brat knows. It's also interesting that she's asking her the questions first, rather than just reading the mind of the little child. But Leia's too preoccupied asking about Obi-Wan Kenobi. How did he die? These scenes are easily the worst of the episode, and quite frankly, at this point, I'd rather be watching anything else. You could play the Teletubby intro on repeat, and I'd still be more entertained. If you tell me where the path is, you can all go home. You don't even know that she knows anything about it. You just found her in a tunnel. Those people would have to be stupid to tell a tiny little child where the location of their top secret base was. Oh yeah, apparently they did that though, didn't they? At this point, the only surprising part is that the rebellion ever survives to even last into the original trilogy. A 10-year-old would give up everything now for a packet of Haribo, let alone withstand any kind of extended interrogation. But finally, the Sith Inquisitor remembers she's actually got the Force. She means she's going to read her mind, which quite frankly, it's very weird that wasn't the first port of call. The look on her face means she really wishes she'd taken the Haribo. But we're back to the outside of the base, and I'm assuming the officer is returning. Just look at all those TIE fighters hanging from the ceiling, ready to be launched at a moment's notice. We better not forget about those later in the episode. That'd be a real shame. In fact, it seems like there's a lot of ships which are ready to launch at a moment's notice, but the fake officer that has never been to this base and wouldn't know their way around it decides that they're going to try and infiltrate it anyway. Immediately runs into the problem when she approaches the security weapons checkpoint, because this guy asks for her security clearance. She hands it over, and he scans it, and it flashes red, because she's not supposed to be in this area. Remember, her security clearance is for an entirely different planet. At this point, she panics, starts panting, and even Leia would be able to tell that she's not supposed to be here. And the guy realizes, this isn't your sector, it's not your planet. I can't let you through the security checkpoint. That would be ridiculous. But he's got one massive weakness. He's a man. She says she's got top secret information, and if he doesn't let her through, she'll report him to the Grand Inquisitor. At which point you would assume he'd go, well, I'm just going to contact the Grand Inquisitor to make sure I'm supposed to allow you through. But apparently, no, he just backs down.
Oh no, I'm so intimidated by this woman who's 2 foot smaller than me.
And so, according to the plot, she literally manages to get through a security checkpoint with this incredible question.
Do you know what classified means?
I mean, even if he didn't, it's no reason to let her through. Look, I know I've got all of these security protocols, but you have cunningly avoided all of those by asking me if I know the definition of a word. And as a man, I am obviously lowering my eyes to the clearly superior ovaries. The Empire, a force that we're supposed to believe can rule the universe, has managed to create a system where all you have to do is tell someone that you outrank them, and suddenly that person can't actually obey or do their job in any way, shape, or form. Seriously, no wonder the rebels won. My favourite part is how that Stormtrooper is just looking on in the background going, you are a complete and utter moron. But, as we'll find out in the rest of the episode, that's a very common occurrence. And she walks through and she's like, oh. It's like, yeah, I can't believe he was that stupid either. Look, I know in a lot of movies, talking your way through a security checkpoint is a very common trope, but you should at least be required to come up with something a bit more complicated than,
if you don't do it, I'm gonna call my dad on you.
Now, somehow, she immediately finds a control room, even though she's never been to this base and wouldn't know her way around it. That was lucky. She also seems to have a vape pen that she puts in the desk and gets around all of their security protocols. We don't know where she got that from either. Are you telling me that this base has the same security codes as the planet that she came from, even though it's in an entirely different sector? Doesn't really seem very secure to me. But after messing with the control, she talks into this handheld microphone, because apparently, even though we've invented interstellar travel, we haven't yet invented the hands-free microphone headset. Now, Obi-Wan asked them how deep this base went, and the only reply he got was, we don't know. But apparently, he's swimming along the bottom of the ocean. So it can't have been that deep after all. I know he's got a rebreather, but even the oceans on Earth are too deep for you to do this. But either way, she opens one of the underwater hatches, and he swims inside, because this base is impenetrable, which obviously means that none of this is in any way protected. Why would we protect our top secret base? Indeed, the only thing even protecting this entryway is one single Stormtrooper, and he's not even at the actual entranceway. He's standing outside. But this Stormtrooper is guarding the second blast door, the second line of defense, and he hears some noise on the other side of the door. What does he do? Does he radio his commanders? Does he stand there and guard and wait to see if anything happens to his door? No. He opens it and therefore removes the second line of defense. Yeah, that was a mistake. He gets strangled through his armor. Honestly, I'm not even sure how that's possible. So Obi-Wan throws him in the water, which is a problem because he floats. And he starts talking to the woman in the control center through this microphone / speaker. I mean, seriously, not only would you having your microphone and speaker be the same device cause massive feedback, but I'm not sure having someone on speakerphone during a top secret espionage mission may exactly be the most intelligent move for a Jedi to make. Again, we can do interstellar travel, but we've not quite managed to stretch 2 Bluetooth earbuds. Meanwhile, Reva is trying to read Leia's mind, and Leia looks exactly as bored as I felt throughout most of the episode.
Is this a staring contest?
I don't know, love, I think a staring contest might be more interesting at this point. We're supposed to believe that an untrained child who doesn't even know they can use the Force can simultaneously resist a trained Inquisitor who can read minds. Look, all I'm saying, Reva, is if you kicked up such a fuss about allowing them to use your hair, you may have not wanted them to make you look like a complete moron at the same time. Oh, hang on, I've just realised I'm not sure whether I'm allowed to actually critique this actress, so I have pulled up a Dulux paint chart. Now, just looking at it, I think I am cotton cream, but I'm colourblind, so I may have got that wrong. And quite frankly, I'm not sure whether that means I am allowed to critique what happens in a television series, but I'm sure someone on Twitter or down in the comments will definitely let me know what that means. But there really is only one result when you've got two pairs of fallopian tubes going head to head.
You're strong.
Yes, obviously we need to affirm one another. You're strong. No, you're so strong. Oh, you're the best. No, you're the best. But when you've got two of those boring characters in the entire series going head to head, Disney senses an opportunity. Merch! Yes, we've got to get that robot out here. There's only one thing that can defeat Reva. Secret merch attack! Turns out even Disney's secret merch attack isn't enough for Reva as she stops it with the Force. No, instead, she uses it as an opportunity to whine about how she too had a droid once, but that was taken from me. Probably by a man. So the officer in the control room is very sneakily talking into a microphone that she's holding in her hand and hoping no one will notice what I'm doing. So obviously it looks very suspicious when the guy next to her notices what she's doing. Despite this, at no point are we ever going to comment on what just happened here. No, we're just going to forget for some reason. But she's talking to Obi-Wan, who also has a microphone, speaker, and vape pen combo. She tells him that Leia is being kept in the secure sector. He's just got to avoid all of these droids on the way. And it's going to be interesting to find out if this secure sector is just as secure as their impenetrable base. Because in this show, words don't seem to mean anything. So Obi-Wan tells her in the control room about the droid, and she sees them and says they're everywhere. She doesn't give him any advice. She doesn't go all Matrix Neo and start trying to guide him round corners as they pass by. No, she just doesn't help him at all. Oh, they're everywhere, mate. I guess you're screwed. At this point, though, a boss comes up behind her and goes, "This isn't your station. I'm gonna need some ID." Quite frankly, it's surprising it took this long. I mean, there's a guy sitting next to her who's probably wondering what happened to Dave, but he never even bothered to ask. Now, she goes to hand him the ID, but for some reason, he's like, "No, I don't want to check your ID here. I need you to come to me in the background behind all of this cover where coincidentally no one else in the room will be able to see anything if you beat me up." At which point, she leaves her microphone speaker combo on the desk, because that won't be suspicious at all, will it? When she gets back to her desk and the guy next to her has been wondering what Kenobi has been asking about for the last 10 minutes. But Kenobi's dodging droids, and we find out that the AI here hasn't actually advanced any further than it was in Metal Gear Solid. Because despite the fact that it's in the corridor and Kenobi is right there, he could just run to the right and it doesn't even see or hear him. This thing has 360-degree cameras around it, but luckily could only see in front of it for some reason that no one's quite worked out yet. So Kenobi comes in and closes the door, which closes directly in front of the robot. And rather than coming in to check who on earth closed the door right next to it, just decides, I'm lazy, I'm just going to stare through the window a bit. Seriously, I was worried about Skynet, but if it turns out they're all lazier than Bob the security guard who's not got out of his chair since Vietnam, probably not that dangerous. So Obi-Wan's amazed. He can't believe he got away with that, because that would be absolutely farcical if he had. Meanwhile, Officer Woman is just strangling the guy who asked her for ID behind the very clear pillars that everyone can see through. Look, I've been in some boring jobs where I absolutely didn't pay any attention at work, but I would like to think if my supervisor was being brutally murdered behind a pillar in the background, I'd probably at least try and pay attention. I'm not saying I'd care, but I'd at least notice. But I didn't factor into the equation something which seems to be a very common problem for everyone at this base. As you can see, Obi-Wan Kenobi is in the distance, and he climbs up into the background of one of the halls. Now, I would say that if you're designing halls where all of your enemies can hide in, that's probably a design fault of your top secret base in itself. But there's a bigger problem. Because as he's climbing into the walls, the Stormtroopers are already in the hall. That means they can see him climbing into the wall. It's a straight line to look at Obi-Wan. And yet, they don't see this guy go, "Oh no, there's Stormtroopers," and hop to the right. That's not suspicious at all. Why isn't it suspicious? Well, as I think anyone that's played Metal Gear Solid will know, humans only have a cone of vision in front of them, and after about 5 to 10 meters, you can't see any further. So even if someone is in a direct line of sight in front of you, you just stop. That's how reality works. Or at least it is. In Obi-Wan. Honestly, if this show was based off the games, I could have at least said it was a game mechanic. As it is, I can only assume the writers are subject to some kind of inbreeding. But either way, Obi-Wan is hiding behind the pillar, which he should already have been seen behind.
Oh, imagine the tension as the Stormtroopers walk past the place that they've just seen me climb into.
But obviously, Stormtroopers are stupid. That's what we learned. Stormtroopers are stupid. The Empire is stupid. This is a force which leads and rules the galaxy with an iron fist. Obviously, they have an IQ of about 45. Oh, and if you're wondering why he's holding his vape pen, that's for the next scene. Because Officer Woman comes back after strangling the man in full view of everyone else that works in the office. Don't worry, I'm sure she's hid the body, right? and decides that the first thing she should do is pick up a microphone and ASMR into it. Ben. Because whispering into a microphone that you're clearly holding into your hand isn't suspicious at all to anyone else in the room. And Obi-Wan's amazed. Oh no! I can't believe that this microphone speaker device that I'm holding in my hand actually said something. I mean, it's been saying something the entire time I've been in this base, but I never expected it to do it now. So the Stormtroopers hear it, because it's within their 5-meter cone of vision and audio. And obviously they know it's behind them because humans can attribute direction to audio. Apparently though, not direction enough, as they seem to just be staring down the empty corridor they've just walked down, despite the fact that there's huge gaps for people to hide on either side. At this point, they're literally standing next to him, and are still just pointing their guns down the empty corridor rather than at the sides. Seriously, I don't know how I'm supposed to take this picture seriously. What possible excuse can you have that the 5-meter cone doesn't reach the end of the corridor, and so they've got to walk the entire thing first? I mean, come on! Now, bearing in mind that the Stormtroopers knew the audio direction, Obi-Wan decides that he's going to look constipated and make a noise in the original direction they were traveling, making them turn round again. So at this point, you've got two guys. You've heard a suspicious noise in that direction and that direction. Do you split up? Do you go both ways? No. Obviously, you do the one Kenobi wants you to go to. We should just completely ignore the sound we've just heard and go to this new sound, even though it was entirely different to the first one. Yay, that was lucky. During the last episode, we found out that Obi-Wan was a moron. In this episode, we learn that the Empire is worse. Now, anyone that's played a spy game will know if you take down a corpse, you've got to hide it somewhere so that somebody else just walking around won't find it. Yeah, we've not discovered that in Obi-Wan, no. Instead, she's just left him lying on the main path into the office. Let's hope no one walks in to do their job, or any of the other people in the office need to go to the toilet or something.
I have some company, but it's been taken care of.
Yeah, not very well, though. So the two most boring people in the show are still talking to each other, and I've just got to be honest with you, I just don't care.
I know what it's like to be alone and the people you're trying to protect aren't coming for you.
She's realised that asking her questions won't do anything. She can't read her mind. And so now she's just going to bore her to death.
She's like, the only person who can save you now is you.
Save her from what? You've not done anything to her. This is a woman that's gone from cutting someone's hand off at a moment's notice for absolutely no reason whatsoever to begging a little 10-year-old to please do something. Oh, please do what I say, please. And for some reason, we've completely forgot that Obi-Wan is the one that matters. And so as long as we just have her in this base, Obi-Wan will come to save her. That's why we kidnapped her in the first place. Why are we now talking about some kind of underground railroad? But obviously, Leia's a genius. She's the best person ever, the key to everything. So what manipulative Machiavellian plan does she possibly have to outwit her captors?
I'll have to tell my father first.
Got him! The only credit I'll give the writers at this point is that's the exact same stupid plan I would expect a 10-year-old to come up with.
Nice try, princess.
No, it wasn't! It was a stupid try! Who would have possibly have fallen for that? Oh yeah, I'm gonna let you talk to your father, the person that hates us and despises us and has clearly sent Obi-Wan after us, which is why I kidnapped you in the first place, because I knew that your father, the person you're talking about, would bring him to us in the first place. It's not a nice anything. I mean, at this point, if anything, I should let you talk to your father so that he contacts Obi-Wan again and tells him where you are. So in the one time that allowing her to talk to her father would actually make sense, we're not gonna do it.
I hope you like pain.
I don't care whether she does, it'll be the most interesting part of the show.
Time to make those tears real.
I'm still not sure why we're supposed to care. I mean, at this point, the show's kind of looking up. But Obi-Wan, not having learned that having a speakerphone yelling out, "Ben Kenobi, where are you?" might actually give away his position, still has a suspicious woman talking to him in the open. And he says, "I think I found the secure wing." Yes. How secure is it? Does it have any guards, laser fences? No, it's just a door. It's even marked in bright red so that everyone knows it's the secure wing. Obi-Wan also has a vape pen which coincidentally opens up the entire security wing. Where did he get that? We'll never know. On my first watch through, I thought I'd missed where he got that from. On my second watch through, I still don't know where he got that from. And if anyone thinks they planned for this and got it ahead of the mission, when they arrived here, they didn't even know there was a secure wing that they had to get access to. So at this point, the Stormtroopers are carrying Leia into some kind of interrogation chair, and they strap her into a device which is clearly intended for a normal person, considering I think they're meant to be at chest height and they come up to above the top of her head. Strangely though, the restraints go around her legs and then they go around her arms. There are no other restraints on that machine. Seriously, how many people the height of my leg know top secret information that it's worth creating a room of this size specially for. But Leia's like desperately screaming for someone to help her. I don't know why. Does she think one of the Stormtroopers is going to turn against him or something? And if it wasn't for the original trilogy, I'd really be getting excited right now, thinking maybe she won't be in episode 5. Now, this is a 30-minute episode, and so far we've already had a lot of filler. But now, Obi-Wan thinks, I think we can probably squeeze a bit more filler in. So Obi-Wan is going to walk extremely slowly down this corridor for absolutely no reason whatsoever. Because it's time to unveil this base's dark secret.
This place isn't a fortress, it's a tomb.
I mean, if they're already dead, why do you care? If they're dead, you can't capture them, and someone you know is alive that you're meant to rescue. Why are we just staring at bodies in amber? But we're about to find out one of the signifiers of talent, that if you shout, that means you're acting.
You are gonna tell me what I want to know.
Oh, hang on. Not sure I can criticize her acting ability. Let's get out the Dulux paint chart again. Disney, I'm gonna need an official response. Am I allowed to actually talk about Reva's acting? Wouldn't want to offend. Meanwhile, we've got Leia doing a little bit of tiny squirming, despite the fact that we've already proven she could just pull her hands through the handcuffs because they're clearly too big for her. All I'm saying is those aren't restraints at all. So in a scene that I think is meant to be really dramatic, but in reality is just incredibly boring, the table goes back for, as far as I can tell, absolutely no reason whatsoever. And these arms, which just have 2 big spikes on them, are meant to be the things that do the deeds, and yet seems a bit dull, doesn't it? Seriously, I've seen interrogation droids in the games and other things before. They had lots of little tools on them. It just seems like having 2 big spikes is going backwards. Obi-Wan's still walking down the corridor, staring at every piece of amber individually, like any of them matter.
Say something! I'm gonna tell you!
Loud means acting. Shouting means I'm acting really hard. Oh, but don't you understand? This is the emotional connection. She doesn't actually want to interrogate the small child. That is the emotional outburst of her 2 diametrically opposed beliefs, that she must support the Empire, but also must do this to a tiny, innocent child. We've been given literally not a single reason for her to care about Leia, and we've already seen her be evil to many other people throughout every other episode, including cutting people's hands off. You can't suddenly go,
Oh, well, she must care about this one because this one's really young.
I've always despised in TV shows the trope that I'm supposed to care as a viewer about what happens to some kid because it's a kid. I don't. It's your job to make me care about that kid. You're supposed to give him a personality which is actually likable, and you failed with that with Leia. But also, I despise the idea that the villain is supposed to do that by default, even though they've just been evil to everybody else. This is supposed to be your first sign that Reva really doesn't want to do this, but is still loyal to the Empire, so we'll go through with it anyway. But the only emotional weight of this scene comes through via the music, and that's shown by the fact that I watch this on 2 times speed when I do this review, and so music has literally 0 effect on me. Unfortunately, in a review, you're gonna have to rely on your characterization instead, I'm afraid. And I have to say, if you're gonna operate an advanced interrogation droid, I'd probably want more options than that. Then again, it's only got 2 spikes on it. How complicated could it be? So we get the 2 spikes closing on her, and you think, finally, maybe we'll get a show about Obi-Wan and Luke for once. Don't worry, Obi-Wan is still walking down that same corridor he's been walking around for the last half an hour, looking from side to side, even though every single cubicle is exactly the same. Oh no, this one's wearing a poncho. What a crime against humanity. Oh no, surely they haven't done this to a child, despite the fact that he's literally here to try and save one from the Empire. Why is he surprised they'll do this to a child? Yes, I know this is probably one of the kids from the original Order 66 right at the start of the series. I don't care. But at this point, he finally hears Leia screaming. I don't know why he didn't before, because he's been walking down the same corridor. So Obi-Wan contacts the woman in the office and tells her that he needs a distraction. Presumably, he means some kind of alarm or explosion, something that would attract the entire base, because she has absolutely 0 idea of who she's meant to be distracting. So this is something that's supposed to be widespread and will get everyone's attention. But the probes are closing in on Leia's head, and I've got to be honest, I'm kind of celebrating.
You did this to yourself.
That literally makes 0 sense. Also, she's an evil Inquisitor. She wouldn't care and hasn't cared in any of the other episodes. But coincidentally, just as she's about to start the interrogation, this other officer comes in and says, I was told it cannot wait. That's interesting. Told it cannot wait. Who has the power to summon an Inquisitor? That's got to be someone really high-ranking, right? No, it just turns out to be the spy. And she summoned the Inquisitor, even though she has no idea that it was the Inquisitor that was with Leia. She was told to cause a distraction for one person. And if any single other person on the entire base had been doing anything to Leia, then this entire plan wouldn't have worked. Luckily though, in Disney World, everything worked out fine. But obviously her plan is masterful, and that is to tell Reva that actually she knows exactly where the one thing Reva's been looking for is, even though she was never asked. And obviously Reva's very impressed that the very information she's been looking for is just dropped in her lap.
Impressive.
Of course, things take a turn for the worse when the officer starts commanding her, saying we need to direct all of our resources to this very planet right now.
You're lying.
She has literally zero reason to think that, unless this is another one of those I can read your mind and it's magic moments, because the scriptwriter can't think of any other reason how Reva could ever possibly know. But don't worry about that, don't think about that, don't think if the plot makes sense. This is Star Wars, and so finally, we're about to get some Star Wars, even though that's not going to make any sense either, because the lights get cut in Leia's holding cell, and Obi-Wan takes down one of the troopers with a lightsaber, because apparently he can use a lightsaber now. I mean, he couldn't 15 minutes ago in the last episode, but now, no, suddenly he's a master of the lightsaber again. Of course, it does take about 4 hits to take down a Stormtrooper, and the Stormtrooper's still in one piece, even though he should be slashed into many pieces. It's a lightsaber, but at least finally in a Star Wars show, we get to see Obi-Wan use the Jedi weapon. And I think that's the only reason to like this scene. Finally, we get to see Obi-Wan doing what he should have done right from the start, as he takes down the other Stormtrooper, who is also in one piece. Unfortunately, he then rescues Leia, which I think we could have all done without.
Don't tell them anything.
I know.
How did you know? I can only assume you think she resisted because she was in an interrogation chair and didn't have a packet of Werther's originals on her, because otherwise I would have assumed that every 10-year-old would give yourself up to an Inquisitor who can literally read minds. But at this point, Reva is being magic again. Oh, it makes sense that the Path would have people among us. You have no reason to think that this person is from the Path. And if you do think she's from the Path, then you should wonder what's happening to Leia, because otherwise, why would this person have brought you to the control center? I can't possibly work out what this spy could want by distracting me in the control center just as I was about to start an interrogation on a small child. But what doesn't make sense is how an old man and a small girl escaped an Imperial checkpoint. That exactly makes sense. I mean, he took down 5 Stormtroopers, you found the bodies, and he got rid of them all. The only part of the story you say doesn't make sense is the part that makes the most sense. He's a Jedi! Disney have managed to make up one of the most ridiculous stories and pointed to one part of it, which is the only part which is logical, and think that that is the problem. And why did they do that? Because they want to show that Reva is amazing. But Reva is the Sherlock Holmes of Inquisitors, which is why we get treated to this delightful piece of questioning.
Then admit you're a spy.
Shouting means acting. I'm acting really hard. The louder I get, the more acting I'm doing.
Of course I am.
Okay, fair play. No one expected that. But her story is essentially that she is a spy working for the Empire, but undercover as part of the rebels. And I think we're supposed to think that maybe she's flipped at this point and was leading everyone all along, but I never did, and it didn't really come across that way, so if that's what they're attempting, they've failed. And this entire scene is basically a waste of time. Like 90% of the episode. I think the main problem with this episode is that every single scene which has Leia and Reva in it is just a waste of time. So Imperial Spy Woman desperately trying to, no, you need to go to this planet, you need to go to this planet. I mean, you've got no reason to believe me, but you need to go. Bearing in mind that this is the Empire, and so there would be records of all of this stuff, which would be easily looked up, but for some reason we're not going to do any of that. We're also not going to wonder why she's distracting me at this very moment, because we're simultaneously supposed to be the most intelligent person in the series, and incredibly stupid. So Obi-Wan opens up the secure wing with Leia, and someone crosses the camera right in front of him. Because we all know the human instinct when a door opens right next to you is never just to look. Here we are, just stealthily running down a corridor. Luckily and finally, one of the seeker droids spots him and starts beeping. Apparently, no one equipped these seeker droids with, like, any weapons or ability to stop intruders. No, they just beep vigorously. They're basically a really low-quality morning alarm.
I do like a good liar.
You should have been there when the scriptwriter said this show was going to be good. So Reva decides that rather than trusting or distrusting the officer, she's going to interrogate her as well as Leia. And obviously, That'll provide all of the answers. Honestly, if the Imperials have to interrogate every single person whenever they say anything to find out if they're telling the truth, no wonder it's really inefficient to run the galaxy. But at this point, the alarm goes off, Reva goes to investigate, and at no point wonders what that woman's just doing, and maybe she was distracting me from Leia. Reva already thought she was lying to her, but rather than doing anything about it, just walks off. But now running along the corridor, and Obi-Wan has his lightsaber out for once. This is not the first time he's run away with a lightsaber, but it is the first time he's going to use it properly. So Imperial Spy Woman open palm slaps a stormtrooper across his helmet, which is designed for head protection, and it just knocks him for 6 and out of control. Then, in possibly the only move more ridiculous than what she's just done, grabs the other stormtrooper under his chin and somehow uses that to grab his gun. Because that's something the stormtrooper couldn't do when he's slightly being tickled under his jaw. So those two get shot, and let's face it, after getting disarmed by moves like that, they deserve it. And Obi-Wan is actually being cool, which is weird because he couldn't do this in the last episode, so I want to know how on earth he's managed to learn how to use a lightsaber again. This is what I wanted to see in other episodes. He's getting attacked by stormtroopers on both sides, lasers are coming in, he's deflecting them at the walls, back at other people. It's challenging and there's skill involved. The problem is that they've already proved that he can't do this in the other episodes. If he could do this, why didn't he do it before? He was using a blaster before because he was terrible with a lightsaber. He met Vader and didn't know how to use a lightsaber. So how, in the 15 minutes or so since he was with Vader, has he suddenly managed to do this? I said in the last episode, if they wanted him to suddenly be able to use his skills again after showing us that he can't, you'd have to do some kind of time jump where he was practicing and training for years at this point. And instead, no, he's suddenly become a Jedi again, magically. So I actually like this scene. I think it's cool. There's no way he could possibly do any of it. But either way, he takes down the stormtroopers and the droid with his lightsaber. But unfortunately, more of them come in. Deflects 2 more laser blasts and 2 more stormtroopers go down. It's great. How does he know to do any of this? Reva's marching towards them because apparently she knows exactly where they are, which means she knows he's rescued Leia, which means she knows that the other person was a distraction. So why are they still breathing? I'm pretty sure this scene's only in so we can have a Type B leading a load of men down a corridor. But unfortunately, Obi-Wan's run into more stormtroopers, and for some reason, seems to be in exactly the same corridor he was in before. But despite Obi-Wan running around in circles and not actually getting anywhere, he's still doing exactly the same thing, and it goes on for quite a while, deflecting lightsaber blasts, striking down opponents. It's all great. It's cool. It actually is the kind of fighting I want to see in Star Wars. I just don't know how a Jedi that could barely handle a lightsaber 15 minutes ago can do any of this stuff. Although maybe he's not perfect when he does send a light blast into the wall, which somehow breaks all of the glass with the ocean above it. Quite frankly, if I was going to build an underground base, I'd make my glass a little bit more sturdy myself. Obi-Wan sees an entire squad coming for him down a corridor, and even backward deflects a laser into the stormtrooper behind him. So he's clearly fixed any issues he's had with the Force. But the only thing that could have done that is the agent right at the start of the episode going,
If you're struggling with the Force, then that's a mental problem, not just a physical one.
Oh, he's really lucky that a Type B told him to believe in himself. Yes, this is CW Star Wars, everybody. The Force is about your fifis. But as he can't take on a squad, he deflects a laser blaster into the door control panel, which locks them all out. Unfortunately, he notices the window breaks, but luckily, he's now a master of the Force again, and so can hold back the entire ocean. At this point, the Imperial spy comes down to try and save him. We don't know how she knew where they were, or how she even reached them before Reva did, given that Reva does know where they are, but apparently she didn't, but does somehow. So Obi-Wan tells them to run away because he realizes, I can't hold back an entire ocean. So obviously they run as far away down the corridor as they can, just in case the ocean comes down on them. Just kidding, they run to the end of the corridor and stand there, staring at him, for no reason whatsoever. I'm not sure, ladies, if you realize how the ocean works, but it will flood all of the corridors. Now, the stormtroopers are opening the door, despite the fact that they can see that the ocean is about to flood them. This guy starts firing through the crack in the door, and somehow misses him, because he's not deflecting any of the blaster beams, even though he's at best 5 meters away. I've never fired a firearm, I'm pretty sure I could hit that target. Then again, they are stormtroopers. So Obi-Wan waits for them to open the door fully, and then rather than just letting the glass fall, somehow breaks all of the glass on the other side. Honestly, I have no idea how. But the Force is magic, it can do whatever it wants, so it just immediately floods all of the corridor. I say immediately, it immediately flooded all of the corridor except the bit which Obi-Wan is in. Yes, that part will flood coincidentally at the exact same speed as he can run. Luckily though, the Imperial agent completely ignored the instructions she was given and manages to close the door behind him. Not a single drop of water got through that door, which is why this entire corridor is bone dry, including the bodies which are on the floor. Didn't want to just chuck a bucket of water over or anything. No. Those actors' unions, really harming the realism.
I don't want to be wet and you can't make me.
Now, the section that we're coming up to is literally the most ridiculous, most parody-like, most absurd part of television that I've ever seen in any show ever, and I genuinely do not think that this will ever be topped. I've said this before, and every episode has got worse, but this is so astronomically awful. Oh, you're gonna have to go some for this. Wheel of Time, Naomi in Halo, did not come close to the farce which we're about to witness, because the Imperial agent grabs a coat off the officer, hands it to Obi-Wan, and says, "Hey, Obi-Wan, wear this." I mean, it's fine so far. What you're about to witness is the 2 people, 1 trench coat meme. Yes, that person on the right has too many legs. Oh yes, and he looks like a person which is trying to disguise another person under his coat, all the while being surrounded by Stormtroopers. You could not physically look more suspicious than this. Oh yeah, but don't worry, I'm sure they're not walking through too many people, because if they walk past any person on Earth with even 1 singular brain cell, they would be able to work out that there's 2 people under that coat, and that's suspicious, and would stop you. This is a Type B that got dragged up because she came from another sector. They're definitely not going to let you walk out with a person under your coat, surely. Oh yeah, there's quite a few people around them as well. They just walk past the security checkpoint, and there's Force users walking past them. You know those Force users, the ones that can sense intentions, or if you're lying, the ones that can sense other Force users near them. In a previous episode, Reva felt Obi-Wan just because she was near him. And she didn't in the first episode, but then it was like, well, okay, maybe if he's been cut off from the Force, she can't. But now he's reconnected with the Force, she can. Fine. You want to use that as an excuse? Okay, Disney, I'll give you that one. What's your excuse now? It's not just 1 Inquisitor, by the way. It's 2. There's also quite a few people on the screen. All of them are going to get walked past. Doesn't look suspicious at all. So we walk straight past the Inquisitors, neither of which feel his presence. Why? Because the plot didn't want them to. And I'm not being funny, but you are actually taking the piss, right? He's even got his arm around her next to him. I can even understand if somehow he was wearing the coat to make him look like a really big bloke, but I've never seen a human being who's just fat on one side of his body. And they do this completely unironically. This is where you cannot convince me this isn't a parody. There are Stormtroopers walking straight past them as he's literally holding her next to him, and they're just nobody even notices. Nobody questions it. Nothing? No. This is the most ridiculous piece of television I've ever seen, and my only thought at this moment was, this is absurd, but at least it can't get worse.
Almost there.
Almost there, I'm gonna have an aneurysm. And then it got worse. They're walking through a Sith base with the most obvious, ridiculous tumor on his side I can possibly think of. And that's also about as polite as I can be to Leia right now. And at that very moment, she decides, yeah, I'm not even going to hide. I'm going to lift up the coat so everybody can clearly see that there's a person next to him, even though they can see it anyway. And no one's even going to question it. Words cannot physically describe my true feelings about this scene. I'm not even sure the Orville could get away with this, and they're supposed to be taking the piss. There's all these people in front of them just walking around. Look, I know there's a meme that Stormtroopers aren't supposed to aim very well. I didn't realize that was because none of them had any eyes. But either way, here they are just walking out of an impenetrable fortress, despite the fact that all of the alarms have gone off, and it doesn't matter that you've got away from 1 squad. Why is this entire base not on high alert? Why are all these people, which are at the exit, not guarding the exit? Why is there not a general order for no one to be able to leave this place? Why are you not under lockdown? I have so many questions. It seems like the alarm for Leia just went off to 1 squad and Reva, and nobody else in the base even knows there was an alarm? Surely with an escaped prisoner which happens to be hiding under a coat, all of the doors would have locked so that nobody can move around a base. Anything in your impenetrable fortress that could possibly have protected it and made it even slightly impenetrable. Instead, they only stop. And yes, that's how obvious it was as they were walking away. The only reason they don't get away is because Reva herself turns up. At this point, Reva accuses the Imperial agent of actually betraying the Empire because she's too thick to realize that she got lied to before, even though at the time she was telling her that she was lying to her and thought she worked for the rebels. This show can't even remember its own plot from literally 5 minutes ago. And if I sound completely amazed at the moment, it's because at this point I'm not even sure how to take the show because I don't think they can get any worse. But either way, she says this is never who I was, meaning I was never on your side. And you know what Reva's amazing retort was?
Then you die.
As opposed to what? What were you going to do with her? She was helping a prisoner escape. Of course she was going to die. Did you think she was going to go, oh yeah, actually, I regret everything, and so I'm just going to come back to work for you? Yeah, that sounds really like the Sith. So all of the Stormtroopers start pointing their weapons at them, which, let's face it, doesn't scare anyone. It's not like they're going to hit them. And they're completely surrounded, because apparently they didn't have a plan. Just joking, they had a plan. 2 tiny ships are going to come in and start blasting everything, you know, on this impenetrable base. The impenetrable base that doesn't have any shields because no one would dare attack it. Why would no one dare attack it? I mean, it's definitely got some kind of defenses, right? Surely they're going to launch the ships, or they've got big massive cannons all over it, which would just blow any ships out of the sky. There's got to be some reason why no one would dare attack this base, right? It turns out, no. The ships can just fly in and start blasting everything, and not a single thing actually is there to defend the base at all, ever. So Obi-Wan and the Imperial make a run for the end where they're just blasting everyone. He seems to have forgot his lightsaber exists at the moment, which is obviously better than a blaster. It's not like he can't use it anymore. He's just proved he's a master of it again, and yet no, we're back to the blaster for some reason. Do you really think that Jedi would have used lightsabers if blasters were better? So one of the ship comes into land, which they then get on, because this entire base has literally 0 defenses, apparently. And Reva gets distracted by the second one coming in to fire at her, which could just hover in the air and nothing's shooting at it. Not a single blaster, none of the TIE fighters have been launched. No, he can sit there as a sitting duck, just firing at an Inquisitor with nothing happening to him. So this turns out to be the scene from the trailer, which we've all seen, of her deflecting loads of blaster fire. Obi-Wan gets away, and at this point, the Inquisitor decides, actually, I can throw one of these explosive bricks at the other ship, which takes out the one at the back. Probably shouldn't have waited that long for anything to happen to him.
He's like, oh no, I didn't expect anyone to die.
When I'm attacking an impenetrable fortress, who would have thought that they might have had any defenses at all? So this guy blames Reva, despite the fact that not a single person launched a ship, even after the one as it's escaping. You can still chase it, you've got TIE fighters. And he storms off. He doesn't go, launch the TIE fighters? What are they for? And then in comes Vader, presumably asking why nobody went after that ship. And he's like, you were warned what defeat would bring you. And he starts force choking her and lifting her up. I thought he was meant to be punishing her, not showing her a good time. He's like, I will tolerate your weakness no longer. It's like, okay, finally, maybe someone's going to do something about somebody in the show. And then she's just like, I put a tracker on the ship.
Wherever Obi-Wan goes, the tracker will go, and we'll find the entire path.
And I'm like, hang on, I thought you were after Obi-Wan. Now you're after the path? I thought Obi-Wan was the thing that everybody cared about the most. And you had him in your grasp, but now we're supposed to believe that you deliberately let him get away just so this tracker can find the path, which now you know it exists, you could probably have found it anyway. And at the end of the last episode, Obi-Wan escaped and you're like, well, we'll never find him now. He's gone forever. You were so defeatist. But this time you're just, oh, so sure that he can't possibly get away. Right. It's almost like the priorities of this show are whatever we need them to be, not whatever the characters are supposed to personally have. But it does get worse, because Obi-Wan just puts her down. And then we get this.
It seems I have underestimated you.
He's renowned for his forgiveness. He's basically benevolent, isn't he? He's always letting people get away with their failure. And it was a failure, and he should also want Obi-Wan the most.
The base was almost destroyed.
I mean, it's a very good point, isn't it? What reason does she have to counteract such impeccable logic?
Kenobi is all that matters.
Kenobi is all that matters. Would that be the same Kenobi who was literally in your base that you could have easily taken but decided to let go? You let go the only thing that matters so you could catch something else like the path, which doesn't matter as much as Kenobi. Yeah, that logic really making sense, isn't it, writers? You definitely know what to do in this piece. And then we get to the ship linking up with a bigger ship, which means that Vader was basically at that base immediately, because he actually beats this ship linking up with the main craft, which is presumably in orbit. So where did Vader come from? That must be part of Vader's teleporting powers again that we saw in the last episode. But either way, they get back. This guy finds out that actually somebody died, which isn't surprising for an impenetrable fortress. It seriously had TIE fighters and it should have had guns. What did you think was going to happen? You should be suspicious that no one's chased you, to be honest. But then Obi-Wan and Leia are bonding, and it's like, oh, this is a major moment. Which obviously she'll have to forget before the original trilogy, so it doesn't really mean anything. And I'm pretty sure they're trying to use that as part of the story. Oh, it'll be a big deal that we've got to wipe her memory so she doesn't remember me, the Jedi. And losing the messages after she's bonded will be so much more impactful. And quite frankly, I couldn't care. But then the droid glows an evil red, and we find out that is where the tracker is. And don't worry, we've definitely not done this just so we can sell an evil version of the merch. We wouldn't do that. And my only feeling after that entire show is, what on earth did I just watch? This was 30 minutes long, and most of it was filler, somehow, out of a 6-episode series. We didn't really do anything. We rescued Leia, but so much of it was filled with Reva and Leia talking, which didn't go anywhere and was entirely boring. Then it was an attempt to show that Reva actually was kind of emotional and didn't want to do it to Leia, even though we've had no reason to believe that built up in any of the previous episodes. She's always been more than happy to be evil before, so you can't just have her suddenly turning good for no reason. We had Reva magically knowing she was getting lied to by a spy, but then immediately forgetting that she knew she was being lied to, and thought she was on her side, even when she found her escaping with Leia. And then that trench coat scene, what on earth? That has to be the worst television I've seen. That is a parody. There is nothing about that which isn't a joke. You cannot take that seriously. That cannot be written to be seriously. And if it was written by someone who thought it was serious, anyone that saw it could not think that was serious. Anyone that filmed that scene couldn't think it was serious. Every actor on that entire set, and the cameraman, and the director knew that was ridiculous. So how did it make it into the show? There was one bit that I liked of the episode, and that was when Obi-Wan was actually a Jedi, which, you know, you're gonna have to shoot me because that's actually what I want from a show about Star Wars and Jedi. Them being Jedi. I want blaster fights, I want lightsabers, I want deflections and stormtroopers falling over. I think that bit's good. But it makes no sense when he couldn't do it in any of the previous episodes. And it's not like there was a big time jump or training montage or anything. He went into a back-to-tank knocker Jedi, and then he came out a perfect Jedi. What was in that back-to-tank? But not a single person thought, I can see the big bulge in my trench coat. This is like one of those memes where two people are standing on each other's shoulders and we're actually one person. This is ridiculous. Can't we just, like, shove her in a box and carry her out or something? Anything. I would have taken anything over what you just did. And it's for that reason you can't convince me this is a serious show, that they even intended this to be Star Wars at all. That was a deadpan comedy scene, and it seems almost deliberately designed to humiliate everyone involved. And I don't mean Obi-Wan. I mean the Star Wars IP. That's the kind of thing that someone would write to deliberately destroy the IP, to make it seem like a farce. The Orville can get away with that because it's supposed to be funny. Star Wars can't. I think the message for me from that entire ending scene is that Disney genuinely thinks Star Wars fans will just swallow anything. Because that was someone taking the piss. That was a deliberate insult. That was them telling everybody that they do not care about Star Wars. They don't care about the IP. It's a joke to them. They're humiliating the characters, and quite frankly, they're humiliating anybody that likes this stuff because they don't care about the show. They think that they can put that in and everyone else will just swallow it down. Whatever they provide you, no matter how farcical, no matter how ridiculous it is, everyone will just swallow it down and enjoy it anyway. That's what they think about the Star Wars fanbase. And they think you should be grateful for that, that you should pay for that. And that for me overshadows the rest of the show, no matter how badly written it was, no matter how badly acted it was, or anything else they've done in the other marketing. The very fact that they thought that that was an acceptable performance, an acceptable scene to put in, will forever be what I remember about this show and Kenobi. Because if you're willing to accept someone with that low an opinion of you, treating you that badly, and then you're still going to come away and go, that was great, then at this point, the remaining fans on Star Wars are made for each other. Because there's absolutely nothing they could do to top that. I don't think it's possible. I've always been confident that shows can get worse. I don't think you can get worse than that scene. And the sheer open derision that was on display there. But that's just my thoughts. What are yours? Let me know down in the comments below. If you like the video, like the video. Subscribe, more videos like this in the future. And I will see you in the next one. Bye-bye.